What is going on, everybody? We got the FFL coming back to video form. Ever since like week 12, I believe, I've just been doing posts on, just my community page. I believe that's what it's called, something like that. I've been posting about it over there. So if you've been curious about what's been happening, the posts have been getting worse and worse as I've gotten lazier and lazier. But it's the playoffs, and it is week now 16 review time. I hope y'all are excited because we got some playoffs. I will probably recap, the beginning and just to, get you reacclimated with everything that has been happening. First of all, let's just recap how the playoffs got to be what they are right now. In week 15, the first game, the Weasels dominated the Rhinos. Rhinos didn't even have a chance, but it wouldn't end up mattering for the Rhinos because the Skiers ended up losing, tying them, and since the Rhinos had the advantage there, the Skiers ended up taking the L, and they actually both lost, but they tied at 8-7, but the Rhinos ended up with the 3rd seed and Skiers at the 4th. Now the other two games were really not interesting as the Elves won by 1 point to the Cheeseheads, 112 to 111. Jeez. Ow, I don't understand. But that was very important for the Elves because I know it didn't end up happening, but there was a chance that if the Elves lost and the Stunner Boys won, then the Stunner Boys would not be in the consolation bracket. But unfortunately for the Stunner Boys, they lost anyway to the Sharks, who ended up getting the 5th seed. Elves did get the win, saving themselves, but they didn't end up needing it, as they ended at 6-9. And here are the final standings from the regular season. The two consolation bracket teams, they obviously have their bye for the consolation bracket, and the top two teams, the Weasels and the Cobras, ended up also getting a bye in the normal bracket. And here is the bracket that Fantasy Football has laid out for me right here. As you can see, of course, the two best teams got the bye, and the two worst teams also got the bye in the consolation bracket. Now let's just start out in the playoff games. Let's start out with the 4th seed, the Salt Lake Skiers, hosting the 5th seed, the San Diego Sharks. Now it ended up being pretty close, very close actually. 5 points apart, but a very, very high scoring game. 202 to 197, and the Skiers take home the divisional game W in week 16. It was very close, but they pulled away. Looking at the chart, it was kind of close. The Skiers really pulled ahead for a while, but then they slowed down super, super fast. And then the Sharks came back, but the Skiers knew what was coming, and they got some extra points at the end as well, and barely ended up winning. Looking at the stats, quarterbacks are very close. Josh Allen with 24, Lamar Jackson 22. Didn't play much together because, they were very, very close. Now, for the running backs, pretty high scoring, as the Sharks had Christian McCaffrey and Kyron Williams with 26 and 16. Meanwhile, the Skiers had Derrick Henry and Tyler Algier with 21 and 15. But it slows down vastly at wide receiver, as Deebo Samuel only had 9 points, DeAndre Hopkins only had 4 points, and just not good all around. Rashee Rice 11, Brandon Ayuk 17, not terrible. AJ Brown 14, not terrible. But I think I know why the Skiers ended up winning, because Jesus, oh my God, Amari Cooper had 51 points. That's like Jamar Chase type of numbers right here in fantasy. I mean, oh my God, he broke the single-game Cleveland Browns receiving record. First Cleveland Browns receiver in history to have back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons as a Cleveland Brown. I mean, oh my God. 265 yards! Oh, man. As he blew everyone out of the water. Those are certainly Jamar Chase type stats for a single game. But yeah, moving on to tight end, David Njoku doubled Jake Ferguson's numbers at 16 to 8. RYT, Ezekiel Elliott blew Deontay Johnson out of the water, 21 to 3. So I guess good job, Zeke. Kickers actually did very well. Justin Tucker with 15, Young Hoku with 17. Very good kicking game. Now we get to defense. For D-line, Jonathan Allen and Christian Wilkins both had 3, and DeForest Buckner and Matt Crosby tied them with a 3.5 and a 2.5. Now at linebackers, however, it gets very good, as Fred Warner and Frankie Luvu had 12 and 10, very good for linebacker stats. Meanwhile, on the other side, Roquan Smith, not that great of a game, 5 points, but Alex Singleton held the ship up with 12. Now in defensive backs, Rasul Douglas, Deshaun Elliott, and Amani Hooker did nothing, really, at all, compared to the other side. As you could just see, Josh Matillis, I forgot his name, Cam Bynum, and Deron Bland definitely had some more points there. And it just ended up being enough for the Skiers to win. Looking at the bench, T. Higgins also had a very good game, 25 points for the Sharks in the loss, but not great anywhere else. Bobby Okorote had 10, so pretty good game. Meanwhile, for the Skiers on the bench, Zay Flowers, 22, very good game. Lots of wide receivers doing well, but only one actually doing well in the actual game. Atua with 16, not terrible game. But looking at the score, it was a very good game, as Salt Lake Skiers are moving on, and Sharks moving down to the consolation bracket. And now we have the upset of the century, as the number 3 Roydville Rhinos came in here looking good compared to the Cleveland Elves, which only put up 112 points in their previous game, only 6 and 9, 2 less than the Rhinos. They were the 6th seed, worst team in the regular bracket, and they came in to Roydville Stadium, and they destroyed the Rhinos, 194 to 166. It was not even close. The Rhinos didn't even have a chance until the very, very end, and the Elves ended up winning. I mean, wow, what an upset against a very good team that has been making a push for the top 2 spots. They obviously didn't get it, but wow, getting upset by the Elves, who started, I'm pretty sure, 0-3, but making a miracle season happen, and wow, just impressive. Looking at the stats, Jared Goff, not great game. 14 points, not great. That's also with Dak, as usual, not great game. 18 points, just not good. Running back, a bit better. Rhinos had James Conner with 22 and DeAndre Swift with 15, so not terrible. They also had Bijan and Austin Eckler with 11 and 19, so also not terrible. Wide receiver, however, once again, they are going off. Starting in the Alps, they had Amon-Ra St. Brown with 29, Chris Olave with 23, and Garrett Wilson with a respectable 15. Very, very good for the Alps. Meanwhile, for the Rhinos, not as good, but I mean, they had Mike Evans with 27, so pretty good. And Scary Terry and Jerry Jeudy, just kind of sat there and watched as Mike did his thing and didn't really do anything. And at tight end, Evan Ingram destroyed Travis Kelce. He had 19 points compared to Travis's 9, which was very uncharacteristic for Travis. Normally he gets near the 20s, which is of course elite for a tight end. Now it's Evan Ingram doing that for the Jags. But now in RYT, it gets even more interesting as Calvin Ridley 25, very good, to Raheem Mostert with 12. Not terrible, but definitely not comparable to Calvin Ridley's 25. Now, the funny thing is that the Elves actually didn't have one of their players, because Brett Maher, I'm pretty sure, isn't on a team right now, so he didn't even have any points for the Elves, but they still won, because Jake Moody only had 5. But now on defense, not even terrible to start out for the Rhinos, as Zach Sealer had 7, Mike Donna 2, not awful. The Elves had Javon Hargrave, Nick Bosa, 4 and 5, not awful. Linebackers, the Rhinos had Jordan Brooks with 0, so not a great way to start out the rest of the defense. But I mean, the Elves also had Devon Witherspoon with 0, which makes it even more impressive that they destroyed the Rhinos. But yeah, I guess for the rest of the defense for the Elves, Dre Greenlaw 7, TJ Edwards 5, Jesse Bates 9, Cam Curl 4. Not too bad, but I mean, also the Rhinos also have a pretty impressive game for the rest of their defense. Jalen Peachy 3, but Kyle Hamilton and Zaire Franklin with 11, and Derwin James with 6. Not terrible, but wasn't enough, and the Elves got the upset. And just quickly looking at the bench, it's not impressive for the Elves, which is exactly what they were hoping for, and it ended up working out. For the Rhinos, also not that great. Cole Kmet 14, not too bad. Geno Smith 18, So, yeah, major upset. Elves coming in, bad start, but looking like it's going to be a good ending. And now looking at the bracket after Week 16, heading into Week 17, we got the championship, I guess the conference championship. I guess it's kind of conference, kind of, is it? Not really. I guess I'll just call it the championship game before we get to the Super Bowl and all that. Championship games. Jesus Christ, I could not talk. We got the Wisconsin Weasels #1 seed versus the Salt Lake Skiers #4 seed. Skiers gonna have to really step it up. They had a close game against the Sharks, nearly lost, but pulled it together. But yeah, tough game. And Weasels definitely taking that bye week. They still scored like 187 points in the bye week. They're still feeling good. Now for the other championship game, for whoever plays the other team, is the #2 Charlotte Cobras and the #6 Cleveland Elves, seeing if they can beat another one of the most dominant teams. I mean, if they do this, they would beat the 3 and then the 2, and then if the Weasels win, then they would have a chance at beating the 1. But that's going to be super tough, as the Cobras have stayed dominant. They have had some ups and downs throughout the season, not as consistent, but they got the bye, and that's all that matters. Now they're going to be hosting the Elves. Doesn't look too impressive, but hey, the Elves made it here for a reason. And I guess that is going to do it for this FFL episode. I hope you enjoyed bringing it back for the end of the season, and we'll see you next week, or whenever you want to see me. But yeah, see you next time. See you.